Hello everyone, and welcome to XSTEM All Access. I am Meteorology, also known as the Hip Hop MD, and I'm excited to be part of this series, showcasing some of the coolest minds in STEM. In this series, we'll dive deep into the diverse world of STEM careers and the individuals leading the way in science, technology, engineering, and math. As your guest host for this episode, I am excited to chat with Captain Matthew Steiner. He's a weather flight commander in the U.S. Air Force. We're going to ask him all of the questions you'd like to know about his job, like what it means to be a meteorologist in the military. Make sure you subscribe in the YouTube description below and follow us on social media to get updates on all new XSTEM episodes. You can also check out the full library of episodes available on demand right here. You'll find topics ranging from conservation to neuroscience, aerospace engineering to animals, and absolutely everything in between. Plus, educators can access NGSS and CASEL-aligned lesson plans to accompany each and every episode, including today's. These lesson plans are written by educators for educators. And with your parents' permission, we'd like you to tell us how you were inspired today by tagging us at USA Science Fest #XSTEM and me, Hip Hop Science Show. We'd also like to thank our partners, the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Space Force, for making this XSTEM series possible. Now, before we begin, let me tell y'all a little bit about myself because I'm sure you're all wondering. I am a science communicator with a background in civil and environmental engineering. And I started my platform, Hip Hop Science, to help spark curiosity and excitement in STEM by using music, entertainment, and comedy as tools to educate on a wide variety of subjects. I think curiosity is the key to unlocking so many amazing things in life, and I'm always excited to share fascinating things happening in the world of science, which is why I am so hyped about our interview today, and I hope all of you watching at home are excited as well. Now, it is time to hear from today's speaker, Captain Matthew Steiner. We all rely on meteorologists to inform us about the weather, everything from alerting us about dangerous storms to simply helping us decide what type of conditions to dress for each day. But did you know that the Air Force relies on the work of meteorologists as well? If not, today's speaker is going to fill us in. In his role at the United States Air Force, Captain Steiner is responsible for providing the weather support that keeps pilots safe while in the air. So I definitely can't wait to learn more. Captain Steiner, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Maynard, thank you so much for having me today. I really hope to cast some light on meteorology as it pertains to the Air Force and also meteorology as a science.
I know the audience is excited to hear from you, so let's jump right into our first question. We all depend on meteorologists to inform us about daily weather conditions. Why is meteorology and weather forecasting important in the Air Force?
So before I answer the question about why weather forecasting is important to the Air Force, I want to first start by going back to the basics and define meteorology. So what is it? So meteorology is the study of all atmospheric phenomena that occur on our planet. And there are some basic principles that make all weather features possible. The first one I like to bring up is the fact that the sun heats up a rotating planet. And the second one is the existence of water. And not just water, but the fact that water exists in all three phases: solid state, gas state, and also a liquid state. Because that's not something that's really common amongst the other planets in our solar system. And that's what makes our planet so unique. And that's the reason why we see all the different interesting weather features across our vast planet. So now that I've established that, I want to explain what career paths you can take in meteorology. And there are two main directions that you can go into with this. The first one being research meteorology, and the second one is operational meteorology. And it's important to note and point out that these two directions complement each other and help each other out on a daily basis to provide intel and weather information to basically everyone across the world, because we all rely on weather information to go about our daily lives. But let's go back to research. So what do research meteorologists do? So they're basically going to utilize the scientific method to answer some very unique questions related to the field over and over again. And this is very normal. Now, this requires a very rigorous academic background to include subjects like mathematics, physics, earth sciences, geography, and also computer programming, which that latter point and subject has become more prevalent, especially over the past 15 or 20 years or so. Now, research scientists, they build weather models. They're responsible for trying to mimic or copy what the atmosphere is doing in the form of a computer model. And these computer models are what operational meteorologists use on a daily basis to provide weather support and weather forecasting to their customers. And in my case, I'm responsible for providing weather support for Luke Air Force Base and the fighter pilots and their fighter aircraft that they're flying in on a daily basis to achieve all their flying missions and all their flying training so they can graduate from flight training and become combat mission ready, so they can go out and deploy and defend this great country. So when I do my job, it would be similar to perhaps a snow skier wanting to answer the question of, well, am I going to receive snowfall whenever I'm going out skiing? Or if I'm a hiker, am I going to receive thunderstorms on the trail that I'm hiking along? And so it's these types of questions that we as weather forecasters are trying to answer accurately and also in a very timely manner to our customers at Luke Air Force Base. And at every single base, there is a weather unit that is seeking to do the exact same thing that myself and my team of weather forecasters are doing at Luke Air Force Base. And that's why weather forecasting is so important to the Air Force.
You know, that's actually really interesting because I just received a notification on my weather app about a possible heat wave coming in. This information makes planning my day easier, but I bet it's even more crucial for pilots whose safety is dependent on the weather support that you're able to provide. So major thanks to the research and operational meteorologists like yourself who make these forecasts possible. It's absolutely much needed. Now, let's dive a little deeper into your role as a weather flight commander. Can you tell us more about your specific job, such as what you're responsible for, and how does it impact the Air Force and beyond?
So my job as a flight commander at Luke Air Force Base is to basically manage a team of meteorologists to provide weather forecast support to all of our customers in a timely manner and also accurately. And all of our customers, they range from the pilots that are in the aircraft, all the other units that are in addition to us supporting the flying mission and the training mission at Luke Air Force Base, and also people that live on base. Now, typically, when we're providing support, we are dedicating most of our time to all the pilots that are performing all the flying missions. So our main focus is to provide them weather information that covers the airfield and also the surrounding airspaces that pilots are using and flying through to complete all the missions that they have that are a part of their rigorous training curriculum. Now, exactly how do I manage my flight? So there are two parts to this. The first part is I have to manage all the forecasters that I serve alongside, and I have to manage all the resources that we have in our weather unit. And this ranges from office supplies to computer equipment and all the software that we use to do our weather forecasting. And that includes weather radar that you probably see on television every day, satellite imagery which shows us anything from clouds to moisture, and there are several other resources that we also use that are going to guide us into preparing a weather forecast for our customers. Now, why is this really important to the pilots at Luke? It's really important because it's it's significant for them to complete their training timeline as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, but also in a successful manner so they can go out and become mission ready, so they can complete some real world missions that are going to defend this country and defend us from all of our enemies across the world. And so that's why, and that's the impact that we have as weather forecasters, not just here at Luke Air Force Base, but at all Air Force bases across the world.
So you're based in Colorado, but your work really has an impact on a global scale. The weather support that you and your team provide ultimately impacts all of us as these pilots embark on important missions that keep us all safe, which is pretty amazing. Now, you earned a bachelor's degree in meteorology and a master's degree in atmospheric and oceanic sciences before commissioning into the Air Force. With so many different career options open to you with these specialized STEM degrees, how did you decide that a career in the U.S. military was for you?
So, as a first generation member of the U.S. military, I will say that the odds that I join the Air Force are actually already quite low. But it still happened. And there was a path and there's a story behind how it happened. So let me take you back to whenever I got my bachelor's degree in meteorology. So I started in the operational umbrella in Alabama, where I went to college. And it was there, and shortly after that, I went on to work for a private weather firm where I worked for a couple years and got some experience under my belt. But after that, I was out of the field for a little while. And I always knew that I wanted to get back into the field, but just didn't know when that opportunity would arise or when my hunger to get back in would come. But a few years later, I went to a weather conference and started networking with some people again, and also networked with some new people that were a big influence on my decision making moving forward. And it was really there that drove my hunger to get back into the field. And not just that, but to understand more about meteorology. Because at that point, my breadth of knowledge really was limited to weather operations, and I wanted to know more. So I started applying for graduate schools. I took the GRE, and few short months later, I was accepted to one of my top graduate school choices, and began attending graduate school in Colorado. And it was really there where I had the experience of a lifetime over the next 4 years. I immediately started research. I became a lab instructor where I taught weather courses in a hands-on setting where I got to handle lab equipment, got very comfortable doing that. And I grew a passion for teaching as well, and that passion stands today. But I also had some life experiences there that I'd never had before. sometimes whenever you travel across the country, that tends to happen. I I learned how to ski, I learned how to scuba dive, I took on hiking, and I also took on road cycling. So there were several hobbies that I took on in Colorado that really were life-changing for me. So, moving into my last year of graduate school, I was doing research for several years at this point, and I found myself getting fairly stagnant in my research, and I began to have the itch to go back into weather operations. So at that point, I made the decision I was going to get my master's degree, which I did do, and then the following summer I went on the job hunt, and and Lord and behold, I began doing some research on the Air Force because I learned that the Air Force needed weather officers. And it was here where I began to see that I could really make a difference.
I absolutely love hearing about your personal career journey because everyone's path is truly unique and often not a direct route. Personally, I always had a love for music and entertainment, and I never really knew where my love for science actually really fit in. And I think it's really great for anyone that's tuning in right now to know that there's never just one lane or one path that you have to follow. You can have multiple different interests in so many different things. And who knows? The career that you end up with might be something that doesn't even exist yet. You have the ability to literally carve your own lane in absolutely any direction that you want to go. And there's not just one direct path to success. So, with that in mind and with that being said, when following a career path, there are many variables that impact us, such as role models, mentors, or obstacles, and even other challenges. Did any of these things impact your journey? And if so, how did they help you shape your career?
So in this question, I'm going to refer back to the previous question you asked, in that there's an additional factor that inspired me to go on the path that I went on. It wasn't until I met my wife whenever I really got the motivation and I was inspired to take on some opportunities that I may have not taken on previously. She taught me two really important lessons. She taught me that A, never fear rejection, because all people can say is no, and you just move on to the next opportunity. And B, don't be afraid to take on some opportunities that are unattainable. She, to just for a little bit of backstory on her, she had just been accepted to nursing school in southern Alabama, and she had traveled across the country to take on this endeavor to get her nursing degree. And it was through her actions that inspired me to take on some of the opportunities that perhaps I would have I would have preferred to avoid previously. So it was really her that motivated me to pursue some of the opportunities. So she was really the first big mentor that I had to push forward and take the next step.
Never fear rejection and don't be afraid of the unattainable. Now, that right there is great advice. So, Captain Steiner, tell us something about your job or about you that maybe might surprise people.
About a year ago, I had the opportunity to fly in the back seat of an F-16 Falcon fighter jet. However, before I was able to take on this endeavor, it was stressed to me that I had to be medically cleared and I had to take some safety training courses in order to be cleared to go through this experience. Um, the Air Force stresses the importance of maintaining a high level of physical fitness in order to fly in a fighter jet, and that you're going to have to maintain rhythmic breathing. You're going to be you're going to be tested to the limit physically. Some people even pass out when they're in the back seat, but it is an experience that is rather exhilarating. especially whenever you see from that perspective how pilots are able to achieve all the missions that they achieve on a daily basis. And it's really cool to see. Most of the time we see things from the ground up and we see the aircraft flying in the sky. Here, you're offered a very different perspective of what level of focus it takes for pilots to achieve all their missions. And I thought that was really cool. It was definitely the coolest 75 minutes I've ever experienced in my life.
Now, I love traveling and I have the privilege now to be able to do that a lot with the work that I do. But I have to say, being a passenger on an F-16 Falcon is definitely on my bucket list. But before we sign off, do you have any advice for aspiring meteorologists that are watching today?
So there are two things I want to touch on here. The first, I've learned something about the weather career field and about meteorology in general just about every single day in the 15 years I've been working in weather. And so it's really important to continue to have that urge to learn something because there's so many things that are unknown in this vast world we live in. Also, consider all the opportunities that I've discussed here today and even further opportunities that I haven't discussed. Consider broadcast meteorology. Consider a job at the National Weather Service where you can be an operational forecaster there. So just be open to all the opportunities that you can pursue in weather. The other thing that I would like to bring up is the United States Air Force. Obviously, we've talked about Air Force weather a lot today, and I do want to encourage you to consider the opportunities if you are interested in weather and pursuing those, because the Air Force is always looking for the future weather officers and also the future enlisted weather forecasters to be the next wave of airmen that represent the United States Air Force. So I do encourage you to look at those opportunities, and hopefully one day I'll be serving alongside you and we'll be working together. So it's really changed my life. Whenever I did research on the Air Force, it was pretty clear to me that all the things that the Air Force had to offer were going to be life-changing for me, from the pay to the benefits to the leadership qualities that I developed, and also the importance of teamwork and being a part of that team regardless of what position you are in. So certainly consider this as an opportunity moving forward for your life. And this isn't just for the weather career field. This is for any career field that you may be pursuing. Look and see if there may be an opportunity for you in the United States Air Force.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I do right now if I didn't take a chance and step outside the box to just try new things. So being open to all opportunities, I couldn't agree with that anymore. Captain Steiner, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Maynard, thank you very much for having me.
It was a pleasure learning about your journey and also the many career options available in the field of meteorology and in the Air Force. And speaking of cool jobs in the Air Force, let's watch this brief video to learn about some more. Make sure you check out the Air Force and Space Force online and follow them on social media to keep up with all of the amazing things that they're doing. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel in the description below. And follow us on social media to get all of the updates about new episodes. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. Plus, you'll also have access to fun weekly content for students and teachers, such as STEM facts for students, classroom tips for teachers, and absolutely so much more. And don't forget to check out the full library of episodes available on demand right here. Each one has an NGSS and CASEL-aligned lesson plan for teachers to use in the classroom. And of course, with your parents' permission, tell us how you were inspired today by tagging us at USA Science Fest #XSTEM and me at Hip Hop Science Show. You can also keep up with me and all of the work that I'm doing with my Hip Hop Science platform through my website and social media here. Everything from educational online videos to how you can collaborate with me for any in-person workshops or STEM outreach projects. I had an absolute blast being your host today, but don't sign off just yet. You'll want to stick around through the end of this video for a fun trivia game that you can do in the classroom or at home. Have fun and good luck. See y'all next time.